Maybe not the Monday Jaguars fans had in mind when they thought the coaching search was going to pick up after the Lions lost over the weekend, because we can go ahead and put a big X between one name on this list. Ben Johnson. He already found another job. He's heading up to Chicago. The Lions offensive coordinator that was maybe the fan favorite to come down and be the Jaguars' next head coach was also a fan favorite up in Chicago, and he chose to go coach Caleb Williams instead of coming down to Jacksonville. So here's the full list of all the guys that the Jaguars talked to in their initial round of interviews. Now, this week, things changed just a little bit, because the Jaguars can start to schedule those in-person interviews. So this is kind of round 2. So from this long list, and you put one name through, or one X through a guy who already got a job, we can whittle it down to 3. Here are the 3 guys that have made the second round as of right now. Liam Cohen, the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. Patrick Graham was the Raiders defensive coordinator. And Robert Saleh, who was fired by the New York Jets during the middle of last season. These are the 3 finalists for the Jaguars guys. 2 defensive guys and 1 offensive guy. Let's take a look at those resumes really quickly. Liam Cohen, he was the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, has been there for just this season. Before that, he was the offensive coordinator in Kentucky for a year. And then before that, he was the Rams offensive coordinator for a year. If you're seeing a theme here, maybe the one red flag when it comes to Liam Cohen is that he hasn't been the offensive coordinator in any spot for more than just a 1-year span. But he has done a fantastic job down there in Tampa. He's already in the state, so it's a short drive from Tampa Bay up here to Jacksonville. All right, he's going to interview on Wednesday. On Thursday, the Jaguars are planning to talk to Patrick Graham. Now, Patrick Graham has bounced around the league as a defensive coordinator candidate. Most recently, he's been in Las Vegas with the Raiders. Now, still technically under contract, even though the Raiders are doing a head coaching search of their own. Before that, he was up in New York with the Giants, and then in the state of Florida with the Miami Dolphins. Patrick Graham is well thought of when it comes to as a defensive coordinator around the league. Now, another defensive candidate, Robert Saleh. A little bit of a different path for Robert Saleh. He's scheduled to interview on Friday with the Jaguars. He was the Jets head coach most recently and was relieved of his duties during the middle of last season. But that Jet situation wasn't ideal. Zach Wilson didn't work out. Aaron Rodgers has had his rough patches, so maybe Robert Saleh wasn't necessarily set up for success there. Before that, he was a rock star as the 49ers defensive coordinator. And then right before that, he was actually here in Jacksonville with the Jaguars as a linebacker coach. So 2 defensive guys, 1 offensive guy, but when it comes down to it, I think it's got to be this guy, right? If it's not Liam Cohen, I will be flat out shocked. It has to be this guy. And even if maybe I'm going to read too much into this, but if you look at the way the interviews are scheduled, he interviews on Wednesday, and then Saleh and Patrick Graham interview on Thursday, Friday. Seems like to me, head coach, who's his defensive coordinator since he's the offensive guy, right? I don't know. But I would be flat out shocked if it's not Liam Cohen. Look, the ultimate thing when it comes to this next head coach is that he's got to get the most out of Trevor Lawrence, even if that's just a little bit more than what we've been getting. The Jaguars need to make that happen. Liam Cohen is one of the guys that people feel really good about around the league, being able to do that. Done some really good things, creative things over there in Tampa. And if the Jaguars do get Liam Cohen signed as their next head coach, I'll feel pretty good about that hire. If they hire Graham or Saleh, you're going to want to tune into Channel 4 because you'll see me have a mental breakdown right here on air. We'll talk more about it on the next episode of News for Jax podcast. Justin Barney and I are always sitting down to talk about the Jaguars. We actually rolled out a new episode today right as the Ben Johnson news dropped, so maybe a little bit of a live reaction going on during that podcast. You can track that down anywhere that you get your podcast. Make sure you subscribe while you're there. And, hey, drop us a 5-star review. You can also track it down if you head over to newsforjax.com and click on that handy-dandy sports page. That'll do it for sports.